Gohan exerts his remaining physical strength to carry the unconscious Goku away from the epicenter of the volcanic eruption, his boots pushing off the unstable, cracking terrain of Planet Chameleon. He feels the immense heat of the rising magma singeing the air as he leaps through the thick, sulfurous smoke, his focus entirely on reaching the upper atmosphere before the planet's crust completely disintegrates. Gohan grits his teeth against the pressure, his muscles straining as he navigates the falling debris while keeping a protective grip on his father's limp form. The ground continues to fracture with a rhythmic, thunderous roar, forcing Piccolo to extend his massive, orange-toned arms to catch a falling section of the cavern ceiling. He shouts for the others to accelerate their escape, his voice resonating through the tremors as he uses his increased physical scale to provide a temporary shield against the collapsing mountain. Piccolo watches the cooling magma harden into jagged pillars of rock, his divine senses alert to the fading energy signatures of the mages who have already fled with the ancient cocoon. Seeing the path to the surface momentarily cleared, Shin concentrates his divine energy to manifest a protective aura around the retreating group, his hands trembling as he maintains the stabilization field. He urges the warriors to move with even greater haste, explaining that the magical corruption of the planet is reaching a critical mass that will soon prevent any form of inter-universal transport. Shin keeps his eyes fixed on the darkening sky, knowing that the structural integrity of the world is failing as the elemental core is drained by the departing mages. The group finally breaks through the thick cloud layer and into the cold vacuum of space, where the shimmering light of the Kai technique allows them to materialize safely on the surface of the distant, airless moon. Gohan gently sets Goku down onto the gray dust, his own breathing coming in ragged, shallow gasps as the adrenaline of the escape begins to fade. He looks toward the horizon, watching as the silhouette of Planet Chameleon begins to tear itself apart under the weight of the dark energy left behind by Demigra. Vados approaches the exhausted warriors with a serene and somber expression, her staff glowing with a soft, restorative light as she begins to heal the most severe injuries of Goku. She explains that the life link between the God of Destruction and the Supreme Kai is currently the only thing keeping them both tethered to existence after the brutal assault. Vados points out that the energy of the internal demon was nearly unleashed during the struggle, warning that the physical vessel of Goku is nearing its absolute limit. Nearby, Ayo stands with her head bowed, her hands still trembling from the shock of the elemental torture she endured within the volcanic crater. She stares at the smoldering pile of cinders at her feet, realizing that the ashes are all that remain of the veteran assistant who sacrificed his life to protect her. Aos feels a cold, hard resolve beginning to replace her grief, her divine aura fluctuating with a sharp, focused intensity as she vows to find a way to honor the memory of the fallen Kabaddi. The silence of the lunar landscape is suddenly broken by the arrival of Whis, who descends from a pillar of light with a look of uncharacteristic gravity etched into his features. He informs the gathered group that the situation in Universe 7 has escalated, reporting that the Super Dragon Balls have been shattered, and the informant has been taken. Whis notes that Beerus has already mobilized the defenders on Earth, suggesting that they must consolidate their forces at the Celestial Lookout to prepare for the coming war. While the heroes regroup in the 6th universe, Lord Slug continues his silent infiltration of the Forbidden Vault within the Celestial World, his movements precise and filled with an ancient, calculated malice. He reaches into the center of the shimmering light, his fingers closing around the Key of the Void, a relic that pulsates with the same dark energy as the mages. Lord Slug smirks as he feels the power of the artifact resonating with his own spirit, explaining to himself that the Guardians have been fools to think they could keep such a tool locked away forever. The heavy stone doors of the vault suddenly groan open as Shallot and Atlas burst into the chamber, their energy signatures flaring with a mix of shock and immediate hostility. Shallot demands to know how a disgraced predecessor has managed to bypass the divine seals, his fists clenching as he prepares to transform. Atlas warns that the thief is carrying an object that could unravel the fabric of the Xeno realm, commanding him to surrender the key before the Guardians are forced to utilize lethal force. Lord Slug scoffs at the threat, his aura turning a sickly, dark green as he mocks the current generation of Guardians for their lack of vision and their failure to prevent the escape of the mages. He explains that the celestial world is a crumbling ruin that no longer deserves its status as the supreme authority of the cosmos. Lord Slug launches a sudden, violent wave of negative energy that throws the two Guardians backward, utilizing the distraction to move toward the primary exit of the inner sanctum. Far away at the celestial lookout of Earth, Vegeta pushes himself up from the stone tiles, his body still aching from the explosion of Planet Quinn but his pride driving him to stand. He demands that Pikkon provide a direct explanation for the disappearance of the Super Dragon Balls, his voice low and dangerous as he processes the loss of the universe's ultimate failsafe. Vegeta looks toward the pulsating cocoon of Janemba that the Guardian has secured, recognizing the same primordial hunger that defined his own battle with the Frost Demon. Pikkon maintains his stoic posture, informing Vegeta that the mages are targeting the beasts to restore a supreme deity who was sealed away in the distant past. He explains that the destruction of the orbs was a tactical move to prevent the gods from wishing the mages back into their prisons. Pikkon notes that the energy levels across the 12 universes are beginning to tilt toward a state of absolute chaos, suggesting that the arrival of the mages is merely the first phase of a much larger invasion. Beerus, lounging nearby, opens one amber eye to survey the gathered warriors, his expression one of bored irritation that masks a deep-seated concern for the universal balance. He tells the mortals to stop their bickering and focus on the fact that an intruder has entered the celestial world, a realm that should be impenetrable to any being below the rank of a god. Beerus notes that the signature he sensed earlier belongs to a ghost of the past, implying that the betrayal mentioned by the Guardian is a reality they must now face. In the medical bay of the lookout, Dende continues to monitor the unconscious Cooler, noting that the physical resilience of the Frost Demon is the only thing keeping his fractured nervous system from collapsing. He explains to Piccolo, who has just arrived via teleportation, that the damage sustained during the fight with the Prince is unlike any biological trauma he has ever healed. Dende watches as the energy of the golden form continues to leak from the pores of the prisoner, creating a faint, metallic shimmer in the air. Deep within the dark vacuum of space, the starship of Frieza continues its rapid acceleration toward a hidden outpost, the engines groaning under the strain of the clinical technology. Frieza stands on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the long-range scanners that have detected a massive energy spike coming from the coordinates of the celestial world. He mutters a curse against the meddling Guardians, realizing that the war for the primordial beasts is drawing in entities that even the great Emperor must treat with caution. Inside the secret hideout of the celestial mages, Demigra materializes through a magical rune, holding the ancient cocoon of Hirudegarn with a sense of dark triumph. He is greeted by Moro and Zaha, who have already begun the preliminary rituals to destabilize the seals on the other recovered artifacts. Demigra explains that the god of destruction of the sixth universe proved to be a more significant obstacle than he had anticipated, noting that the mortal has achieved a state of being that rivals the mages. Moro licks his lips with a predatory hunger, his eyes fixed on the heavy container of the primordial beast as he senses the massive amount of energy locked inside. He demands to know when the final phase of the resurrection will begin, claiming that his own appetite for the vitality of the universes is becoming nearly unbearable. Moro points toward the map of the Xeno realm, noting that the distraction in the celestial world has provided them with a window of opportunity that they must exploit immediately. Zaha steps forward, his dual blades glowing with a cold light as he presents the updated intelligence gathered from the informant. He explains that the remaining cocoons are being guarded by the gods themselves, suggesting that a series of coordinated strikes will be necessary to overwhelm the divine defenses. Zaha indicates the location of Universe 11, noting that the prideful warriors there have already been broken and that the final beast is within their reach. Android 21 looks at the cocoon of Hachiyak that she recovered from Universe 8, her pinkish eyes reflecting the dark magic of the ritual chamber. She asks her companions if they intend to deal with the meddling mortals on Earth, expressing a personal desire to consume the energy of the warriors who have caused so much trouble for the mages. Android 21 suggests that a direct assault on the Celestial Lookout would be the most efficient way to secure the cocoon of Janemba and eliminate the remaining resistance. Back in the Celestial world, Lord Slug reaches the primary gateway of the Inner Sanctum, the key of the void glowing in his hand as he prepares to bridge the gap between dimensions. He is intercepted by a phalanx of apprentice guardians, who launch a desperate barrage of key blasts in an attempt to halt his progress. Lord Slug doesn't even slow down, his aura expanding to form a crushing field of gravity that slams the young warriors into the stone walls with lethal force. Pikkon, sensing the massacre from the lookout, informs Vegeta and Beerus that the sanctum has been breached and that the heart of the divine realm is at risk. He explains that if the key is used to open the gates of the void, the ancient hordes of Demigra will be unleashed upon the universes once again. Pikkon urges the god of destruction to intervene personally, stating that only a being of his rank can hope to stand against the dark magic of the thief. Vegeta ignores the command of the Guardian, instead transforming into Super Saiyan Blue as a torrent of azure energy erupts from his body. He declares that he will be the one to deal with the traitor, his eyes narrow and filled with the fierce determination of a warrior who has already lost too much to the mages. Vegeta tells the others to follow if they can keep up, launching himself into the air and disappearing through a spatial rift created by the Guardian's staff. The group arrives in the celestial world to find the corridors filled with the smoke and debris of the earlier struggle, the air heavy with the scent of ozone and magical fire. Vegeta touches down on the stone tiles, his gaze immediately locking onto the towering form of Lord Slug, who stands at the threshold of the Void Gate. He notes that the energy of the thief feels uncommonly dense, realizing that the artifact in his hand is amplifying his natural power to a terrifying degree. Lord Slug turns to face the newcomers, his green features twisting into a look of cold amusement as he recognizes Vegeta. He mocks the arrival of the mediocre defenders, claiming that the time for the gods to rule has ended and that the era of the mages is about to begin. Lord Slug raises the key of the void, the light of the artifact beginning to tear a hole in the very fabric of the divine realm as he initiates the final ritual. Beerus steps forward with a look of pure, unadulterated fury, his purplish aura flaring with a dark intensity that causes the surrounding stones to disintegrate into dust. He commands the thief to drop the key immediately, stating that he has no patience for ghosts who do not know their place in the hierarchy. Beerus prepares to unleash a wave of total erasure, his eyes glowing with a lethal, golden light as he focuses his internal energy for a direct strike. On the distant moon in Universe 6, Goku finally rouses from his unconscious state, his vision blurry as he tries to orient himself in the silent landscape. He feels the hand of Eos resting on his shoulder, and he asks about the outcome of the battle at the volcano with a voice that is barely a whisper. Goku listens as the rookie goddess explains the theft of the cocoon and the death of their guide, his face hardening as he processes the gravity of their failure. Goku pushes himself upright, ignoring the protests of Vados while he attempts to tap into his internal energy. He realizes that the energy of the internal demon is still active, its hunger for destruction vibrating through his veins like a physical weight. Goku tells the others that he can still sense the location of the mages, explaining that the dark energy they left behind has created a trail that his new godly senses can follow. He looks toward Gohan and Piccolo, expressing his sincere gratitude for their intervention and their bravery in the face of the mages. Goku tells them that he must continue the fight, but he insists that they return to Earth to protect their home from the inevitable spread of the conflict. He watches as his son reluctantly agrees, the bond between them reinforced by the shared trauma of the volcanic collapse. Back at the mage's hideout, the ritual to awaken Hirudegarn reaches its peak as the ancient cocoon begins to crack and groan under the pressure of the dark magic. Demigra watches with a look of supreme confidence, noting that the energy of the rotten fruit has perfectly synchronized with the primordial spirit of the beast. He explains to Moro that the creature will be their most powerful weapon, a force of total destruction that no god or angel can hope to contain. The air in the hideout begins to vibrate with a high-pitched ethereal shriek as the first fragments of the container fall away, revealing the dark, shimmering form of the entity inside. Hirudegarn begins to manifest his humanoid form, his very presence causing the surrounding stone to warp and liquefy from the sheer intensity of his malice. Demigra smiles as the beast opens its eyes, recognizing the ancient hunger that matches the desires of the mages. In the celestial world, the battle begins with a violent collision as Vegeta lunges at Lord Slug, his azure aura clashing against the dark green energy of the thief. He lands a series of heavy punches that are blocked by the barrier generated by the ki, the shockwaves of the impact shattering the nearby pillars. Vegeta realizes that the artifact is providing his opponent with an almost impenetrable defense, requiring him to find a way to bypass the magical shield. Lord Slug retaliates by firing a beam of void energy from his free hand, the light cutting through the air with a high-pitched hiss as it seeks the heart of the prince. Vegeta twists his body mid-air to evade the strike, but the energy still manages to open a shallow, burning wound on his shoulder. He ignores the pain, his focus entirely on finding a gap in the rhythmic movements of the thief, as they trade a blistering sequence of blows. Piccon joins the fray, his white aura flaring as he launches a barrage of precise ki blasts to distract the thief from his primary goal. He explains to Beerus that they must separate the ki from the warrior if they are to have any hope of closing the gate. Piccon moves with a speed that renders him almost invisible, his strikes targeting the pressure points of Lord Slug with a supernatural accuracy that taxes the thief's concentration. Lord Slug bellows with a sudden monstrous rage, his physical frame beginning to swell as he draws upon the energy of the Void Gate to increase his size and strength. He swings his massive arm in a wide arc, sending a wave of cutting wind that throws both Vegeta and Piccon backward into the rubble. Lord Slug laughs as he looks toward the opening gate, claiming that the reinforcements from the Void are already on their way. Inside the mage's stronghold, Hirudegarn steps out of the remains of the cocoon, his heavy footsteps echoing through the ritual chamber as he surveys the gathered mages. Moro approaches the beast with a predatory smile, noting that the energy radiating from the creature is even more appetizing than he had anticipated. He tells Demigra that it is time to move toward the next universe, suggesting that the combined power of the mages and the beast will ensure their total dominance over the Xeno realm. The scene shifts back to the celestial world, where Vegeta pushes himself up from the debris, his eyes fixed on the widening hole in the fabric of reality. He begins to concentrate his internal energy for another transformation, the purple radiance of the destroyer starting to merge with his blue aura. He declares that the pride of the Saiyans will not be broken by the ghosts of the past, his voice resonating with a grim and absolute certainty. Vegeta emerges from the light as the screen fades to a terrifying absolute black.